Beautiful, superb, informative podcast from the Swiss Quality. I'm so happy to have you here. My name is Mark Hamoud, and present with me today, the famous, the coming Mrs. Bärbel Wetenkamp, and the amazing Leon Palafox, whom we're looking to today in order to learn a lot from him and his knowledge and being the director of the Innovation Lab at some very big companies. So, welcome everybody to the show, and thank you very much for being here. Who would like to start by presenting himself or herself? Maybe shall we start with the lady? Yeah, ladies first. Leon, what do you think?
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Leon. I'm so much looking forward to this exchange. Great topic and great company. So thank you for this. I am a consultant, public speaker, and author with many years of leadership, training my customers on leadership topics, working a lot with C-suites on executive presence and other things. And nowadays, of course, a big part of the discussion and the consultancy is AI. How do we use it? Why do we use it? What is a business model for it? What is security aspects? How can we take our teams with us to implement, etc.? I live in Switzerland right now. I'm in Germany at the airport in Frankfurt. And yeah, happy to share this time with you.
This is very,
Leon.
very consultant like. What do you think, Leon? The lady is taking this call from the airport.
Yeah, I mean,
Actually,
it's amazing because
yeah,
that's our life, right?
yes, actually behind the scenes for a consultancy job here.
Good, good.
Yes,
So, first of all, we wish you all the best, and we're confident that you will get it. And congratulations, and raise our thumbs to you.
thank you.
Great. Leon, please tell us about Leon the person,
Leon, may I
Leon the
hand
human
over?
being. Yeah?
Sure. Well,
Leon, the
first,
the husband, whatever you wish. But let's not start talking about work now. Let's get to know the person, and then we will start with the professional questions.
sure. Well, first, thank you for the invitation. It's always nice to speak with new people, to learn about new people.
Thank you.
I've been doing AI related things for 20 years, more or less. I love doing that. I'm not in an airport though. I'm in my home office, but I've taken calls from plenty of airports, so I know how it is. And I'm really looking forward as well for having this talk with you guys.
Great, thank you. Do you want to tell us a little bit about you as a person, where you studied, what you have done, your dog, your horse, whatever you wish?
Sure, but I don't have any pets.
Okay.
I have kids.
Okay,
Uh,
tell us about them.
yeah, I live in Mexico. I live in Mexico City. I travel quite often, a couple of trips every month. I did my PhD in Japan in
Nice.
artificial intelligence. Like before artificial intelligence was cool. So I did like 15 years ago. And what else? I love reading. I read a lot about management, about AI, about how like AI can be used in process management, changing processing companies, and that's about it.
Great, great. That's absolutely amazing. Thank you both for those introductions. Now that people have heard who you are, I'm sure that some people start already identifying with you, like, oh, actually, I have a similar story. So that's a great beginning. Let's start with the lady. Bärbel, as a CEO, what unique challenges do you face in leading a consultant firm like Larona, especially in the context of digital transformation? And of course, today, when you speak of digital transformation, everybody has in mind like it's with AI. Yeah, with
Yes.
AI. So tell me, please, what challenges do you face?
Mark, we are working since many years in a very digital remote way because not all the colleagues are sitting in the same place. So this approach, I would say, is easier for Claruna and Claruna's ecosystem, where I count also Swiss Quality too. What I think is a challenge, or what I feel is a challenge, is that you don't get overwhelmed by all of the opportunities that you have. On one hand, we want to be at the top of the development of the technology, try many things. But this might lead also to jump from one tool to the other, just being a gadget queen, you know, but you always need a goal. What do you want to achieve with it? Where do you go, and also get some stability and decide for some stuff. But as I said, we're working a lot with our customers so it's part of the business also to get to know the newest technology, the tools, and the option that they offer. So it's a bit too much or too little, you know. It's like so often in life, we need to balance to have for ourselves some clear strategy, but at the same time, look what is new, test things, try things, and then find the good setting for customers.
Leon, this is the situation in Europe. Is it the same in Mexico or is it very different?
No, it sounds about the same. Both in the US and in Mexico, it's pretty much about the same. I don't think there's, for what I've seen so far and what we've seen in different industries as well, because I also done my bit of consulting, it's about the same.
Yes. Let me go back maybe one step with you, Leon. Actually, to start with, what inspired you to pursue a career in artificial intelligence and machine learning? And how did you actually, how did that lead you to Novartis finally? I mean, Novartis
Sure.
is pharma, it's not AI, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Tell us this story, please.
Sure. Well, first, what inspired me was I'm very stubborn from the beginning. So when we're talking about 2005, 20 years ago, no one was doing AI in the US. I was in Mexico. I was looking to do my PhD on AI. It was a hard thing to find places to do AI-based PhD, mostly because probably you're familiarized with how funding works in the US. If something is not popular, chic, has a lot of like traction, it's very hard to get money for grad students. So a lot of professors told me like, yeah, we have some projects, but not like, you can put like AI maybe like related to it, but not be the main driver. So one of the few countries that actually was still investing a lot in AI was Japan. Japan was like, it's always this outlier. If you look at the history of AI, is this outlier of a country that when the whole world started like on this winter of AI, Japan actually kept investing a lot of money on it. So that's how I ended up in Japan. So actually in Japan, it was very easy to find labs like AI related. And I always liked the topic. I love AI. I love doing what I do. I've been on the research part and being doing fundamental research. My PhD was basically, and that's also leading to the other part of the question. My PhD was on finding new molecules using AI, not using deep learning. Like deep learning was popular when I finished my PhD, but I used another like Bayesian networks, like other kind of machine learning related tools. And basically, I've been trying not so much as a fundamental research on AI, but trying to apply AI to different fields, different areas. That's like one of the reasons, for example, like both my postdocs were on AI plus something else like neuroscience or planetary sciences. So I tried like to bring this set of tools to different areas. So for example, NASA, at that moment, we're talking like 10 years ago, it only had like 5 or 4 people doing AI. So we were trying to push those kinds of efforts. And after that, I started doing consulting as well. So I'm familiarized with the consulting world. I did consulting like for 5-6 years, applying AI, machine learning, data science to all like different companies here in Mexico, right? Because here in Mexico, it was about 7 years, like everything just started. So it's first trying to get companies to understand the value of applying these kinds of tools. And within this trip, so to speak of, I got a call from Novartis actually, and told me like, we like your background in like you did your PhD in bio-related stuff. You were in UCLA in the neuroscience lab as well, and yeah, that's how I ended up here.
Great, amazing. Just one little remark, Leon, please. When you mention something that maybe not everybody knows, please explain what it is. For example, if you say in your postdoc, I'm not sure if everybody knows what that is. So please explain, like, in the work that I have done after my PhD, after being a doctor.
Sure.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Leon.
So sure.
Thank you. Great. Okay.
Mark, do you allow one? I have one burning question for Leon.
Okay, please do ask it, and let's pay attention because we don't want to burn the monitor. Go ahead.
AI is all over the place, and there's little that goes without AI today and in the future.
Exactly.
I guess we can agree on this. If you think of leaders, of decision makers, CEOs, etc., that are not from the field, that do not have this technical background, what do you think they really need to know, to understand, and to learn? And how can they possibly do this without going in the depth of machine learning and algorithms and all of this?
Bärbel, this is a very smart question. I think we can trade places. Go ahead, Leon. Go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, what I've seen time and time again is that the most fundamental thing that leaders, C-suites, they need to be very clear on the data, like the whole process of what AI really means. Like, for example, we have generative AI right now, right? With all the chatbots and all the different products that we have. But they want the end product and they love the end product. But usually they don't realize they have a mess on the data side, right? They're like, I have all my operating manuals, for example, and it's a mess of different files and different folders and different versions. And they think it's just like feed everything to the AI and the AI will do magic. So understanding what the process underneath deploying an AI solution entails, that's something I don't see very often. Like I've seen many leaders do have these kinds of skills, but I will also recommend, like even if they're in marketing, in legal, in HR, do understand a little bit about the lineage of data. Like what does it mean that you need some kind of data? And of course, it's a lot of also on us, right? Like the technical people to try and help all the business owners and all the different product owners to understand and be very, very clear about these use cases and what is needed. And the most important part, and when I think there's a lot of synergy about, is like AI. There's like new businesses, of course, and things that are being developed using AI. But most of the applications is you take an existing process within your company, be it logistics, be it HR, be it finance, and you use AI to make that process more efficient, right? So you have to understand the underlying process and how AI is going to fit into that. And for example, for change management, a lot of people don't go into that, but it's very, very important because many times AI changes the way we do things. And if we only change one part of the process with AI, but we don't bother with the rest of it, probably you won't get a lot of wins using AI.
Absolutely, and thank you very much for sharing this, Leon. We'll definitely come back to this later. We will come back to the topic, but actually I have a certain preparation and certain questions in a certain way that would lead to this little by little. So allow me please to ask Bärbel a question. Bärbel, AI is all over the place. At this time, those days, how do you approach team development and ensure that your team remains agile and innovative? Frankly, especially when I almost have the impression that a lot of people, if not everybody, is starting to simply rely on AI. Like I could go to ChatGPT, I could go to DeepStream, and I could ask my question. I don't need to think, I don't need to be innovative. Actually, it can be for me. How do you maintain teams? How do you lead teams with this mentality or with this attitude?
I think what is very special those days is that in teams you have a very mixed level of knowledge and also openness to use AI. Well, let me say a very recent study from Microsoft, at least for Europe, shows that even the boomers, you know, the people I think above 57, 58 today, 70% of them use AI on a daily basis or very regular basis, not even to speak from Generation Z, who of course use it like 92%. And very interesting, if companies do not supply an approved AI that they
Yes.
want to use in their company. If they do not develop a strategy and guidelines, then people will bring their own AI. We had bring your own device. Today we have bring your own AI, which of course is kind of dangerous in terms of data security,
Yes.
etc. So in teams, you have people who kind of depend on it, use it all the time, and others who feel a bit hesitant or overwhelmed. So I think it's very important that you manage to align, to give us safe space in teams to help each other to discover together, but they're also not get into this hysteria of using AI for everything. It is a fantastic, wonderful tool. And Leon, you may contradict or confirm, but I guess AI in areas is also ahead of us human beings today, or is on the way to. So it's wonderful to use it, but we have capabilities as human beings that can be empowered, but we need to think, we need to decide. For me, a very, very strong and important topic is ethics. So how do I use it? How do I deal with it? And bring the different generations and levels of knowledge together to openly discuss this. You know, Mark, it's a bit like when we started to drive with navigating systems before you knew where to go from one city to the other.
Exactly.
And today you don't even know where you drove because you were in your podcast and the navigation systems tell you turn right, turn left.
Exactly.
So we shouldn't forget, we shouldn't unlearn to think and to decide,
Yes.
but use it as a booster for the quality of our life, or of our work, for inspiration, for speed, for all of this.
Leon, I have a question to follow up on what Bärbel was saying. So it's a wonderful tool that could be used in a very positive way, right? This is what she is saying. What would you say to people who actually bring you like examples where AI actually, even today, even with the algorithms of today, like the most recent Claude and the most recent Grok and the most recent GPT-4, and they show you that sometimes it gives completely ridiculous answers. How come?
Why does it give you inaccurate answers?
Very inaccurate and very silly. Like, for example, out of my
Sure.
experience, sometimes it doesn't understand that 45 is smaller than 47.
Yeah, that's right. First here, I went just to acknowledge a little bit about what Bärbel mentioned. I also agree, like I'm terrible driver. Like I'm used to be like all around with my paper map, like trying to figure things out. And I was like back in 2007, I was like, I know it's gonna happen. I just want to like have digital maps and a GPS enabled phone and everything.
Yes.
So I agree completely. And I will never try to do very complex calculations without a calculator, right? So I do think there's a lot of use cases. Now, something I always said, like I also teach AI in a university here in Mexico. And I also say like in different classes, different talks I give, like the AI, machine learning, the models, whatever, it may and it will make mistakes. So it's by design, because all of these models are based on probabilities, all of it, like from the very, very simple models to the most advanced models like Claude and GPT and whatever. So, and because they're based on probabilities, sometimes they will give you inaccurate facts, right? So that's one. So that's one reason they start hallucinating, right? Like, because remember that these models, essentially what they do is they predict the next word. They call it token, but let's call it the word. They predict the next word. And then the next word is predicted based on that one that they already predicted. This is called being autoregressive, right? So they start doing this. So if they make a mistake in a single word, that mistake is just gonna cascade all over the answer, right? So they only have to have a single token very, very wrong to the whole answer being wrong. And now on math, for example, and probably you noticed that ChatGPT and other tools, they say like, okay, I'll take out a Python interpreter and I'll solve it over there. Because as I just told you, the model basically it's predicting word after word. So it's not like when it's trying to do math, it's doing math. It's actually going to do a very, very fancy lookup table like the one we do in Excel to all the memory it has stored, so to speak of.
Yes.
and finds and says like, oh, this is a larger than, and this is a smaller than, and from that it starts inferring, but it actually never learns. It's actually just predicting word after word after word. The magic here is that it has been fed with trillions of words, of trillions of documents, of different things. So many times it makes sense, but when it comes to math, which is something very symbolic, right?
Mhm.
That is not necessarily based on like a text structure. That's when it starts having issues, having troubles.
Do you speak especially about generative AI, or also because machine learning, where it's more about analyzing, etc., is different, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah. I mean, but the models behind Gen AI, which is ChatGPT, is essentially a machine learning model. It's called transformer, and transform is basically predicting words the same way linear regression or other machine learning models predict answers, right? So the underlying math for both of them is exactly the same, actually. And that's the reason they both make mistakes. But the thing is, a machine learning model, you make the mistake, you can check like there is a mistake. But in generative AI, because it's like so much text, you can't actually get that.
Bärbel, if I may, out of my understanding and people that I know and talk to, an advisor or a coach today would not be able to reason like AI or as fast as AI or have the knowledge of AI, but it would be by far more reliable, right? Especially if we're talking about executive coaching. The human being, the person, the coach, is far more reliable for, I would say, absolutely most CEOs who need coaching. Give us, please, a recent successful example of successful executive coaching, some very good experience that had a transformative impact on an individual or on an organization, where AI did play a role, but through the coach yourself, for example.
That's a complex question. So,
I'll repeat. I'll repeat. I today, for example, every time I try to query AI for anything, I'm very careful not to take whatever it says for reality, because sometimes, as Leon just said 2 minutes ago, it hallucinates. Sometimes it tells just crazy stuff, which are completely not true. Like it invents names and events and it hallucinates. It creates things which never existed. And this is why, of what I know, of a lot of CEOs that I talk to, they would by far prefer to talk to a human being for their own coaching. They would trust the human being and not trust what AI is saying. Give us a good, positive, successful experience where you had some executive coaching to a person or to an organization, even if AI was a significant part of the coaching and the experience, but where actually you led the experience and how and why this was a success.
yeah. So, indeed, when it comes to executive coaching, when it comes to coaching and consulting with C-levels, I think it's very good that you bring some capabilities that are especially human, which is empathy, which is a way to listen, a capacity to listen, to understand quickly. Those people don't have a lot of time, and to find the good tools that help to solve the problem or the challenge or the whatever ever is there. I recently have had the honor to work with 4 C-levels who entered their job or who got a promotion to C-level to grow into this role, and actually from day one to have this, we speak about gravitas, to have the gravity in the organization, to have the positivity, to have this status of a C-level. And this is, for me, maybe I didn't find the right tweak in AI. For me, this is a very, very human-driven process, and I couldn't see that a C-level today would accept that I give AI tools to take over part of the process. However, for preparation, me myself, to coach, to consult, I do use AI more like a sparrings partner, brainstorming, and so on.
Yes, yes. Beautiful.
I'm not sure if this
Yes.
answers your question, but
You did, and you did beautifully. Thank you very much. You really did beautifully. Leon, I take it for granted that you do not represent Novartis this evening. You're speaking as Leon.
Sure. Yeah.
And of course, I'm not going to ask you to reveal something that is a company secret. No, but something that has been published. Tell me, please, about an effort or a project or an experience at Novartis where AI made a significant impact on healthcare or patient care, whatever.
Sure. Well, the first application of this public information, Novartis is partnering a lot with Google-backed startups, and well, it's looking into different venues, right? Because right now the holy grail, and this is not for Novartis, for all pharma, is the AI generating compounds. So this is basically generating medicine using AI, right?
Mhm.
And why is this important? And actually, I think this, if we manage to do that, like not only Novartis, we as a human race, we manage to do this, human life expectation is just going to skyrocket. Why am I telling you this? Because right now, any new medicine, and I'm talking very, very important medicines like cancer, all of these different medicines, they take from 5 to 10 years to develop. Depends on the medicine, depends on the company, and the costs. For example, we get very excited when we hear like, oh yeah, Metis is going to invest $10 billion, right, on this, or $5 billion on this. Each new medicine, its investment costs is around between 5 and $10 billion. Again, depends on the medicine, development cycles, and everything. If we can bring these times down to, instead of being 5, 10 years, to being 1, 2, 3 years using AI, that's going to be like just amazing. Like we'll have so much new medicine, so much new, like a lot of reasons companies don't invest in new medicines because all of this investment has to have a return, right? So this is something that I'd say is not happened yet, but we're getting there. And the other use case where I've seen AI do a direct impact on patients, for example, and this is probably not only for Novartis, but for plenty of pharmas, they try to do like, for big pharmas, a lot of medicines are very like subject oriented. Like this is not retail pharma, right? Like you don't have thousands of the same medicines selling every week. You have 1, 2, maybe 3 of those medicines, right? So you have to be very, very good at detecting which patient needs which medicine, or for example, from the logistics point of view, you have to be very, very good on predicting where the medicines are going to be needed, right? Because there's a lot of regulations for different countries when it comes to pharma, right? So Mexico, for example, is very, very strict. The medicine, like the company that puts the medicine in the pharmacy has to be the pharma itself, and the company that removes the medicine once its expiration time has come, it's also the company itself, right? Mm-hmm. So you have all this logistics network that has to be very, very controlled. So when the patients goes into the pharmacy, they have the medicine on stock, right? And again, these are expensive medicines. These are like not so common medicines. So you need these machine learning AI-based systems to keep track of all these medicines, all of these logistic networks.
Can AI also help, Leon, when you develop a new medicine, to predict side effects or things like that, so that the testing phase, the medical, clinical tests, etc., become shorter or safer?
Yeah, so like a lot of these, for example, the most popular use case is you create a new medicine, right? But there's a lot of also public research, just what you mentioned, right? Like I might have different side effects to a medicine than you or than Mark. So what they're trying to develop are like, and the name of this is it's automatized. Well, I don't know if the personalized medicine. So actually, how doses is basically based on your age and your weight, and you have to have this much medicine, because if you have too much, the side effects are going to be rather bad. But for example, perhaps for your particular weight, your particular age, to have specific doses. So there's a lot of research being done in that area. But you just hit it in the nail. Like it's not only creating the new medicine, they also use AI models to try and predict how is it going to interact with the body, and if it's going to have a good interaction or a bad interaction. So actually, when I first started in Novartis, I looked like for YouTube videos about what they were doing, and I found this conference in Europe, in Basel, where they were showing this, right? They were showing like, this is some of the research we're doing, we're trying to get there, and this is like a very, very important thing. We're probably not there yet, but I think it's where we're heading.
It gives me big hope for women, because
Yeah.
as we know, a lot of medicine is developed for men and not really perfect for the women, for the female body. So once again, AI can do so much good. So
Good. But for now, let's talk about this. Artificial intelligence, once again, Bärbel, is all over the place. In every journal, on every newspaper, every podcast, every interview, every piece of news, there is AI or something related to AI. With artificial intelligence being on every topic, tell us, please, about the role that you believe emotional intelligence plays in effective leadership. And if you can give a story, an example, something that you have seen where emotional intelligence maybe, I hope, played a role that's much more important than anything artificial intelligence.
you know, AI today learns to be empathic, but of course isn't. Certainly, you have tried it yourself to ask AI about its feelings. So I say it, its feelings.
Yes.
Coming back, I don't have feelings. So it tries to mimic or to be very human, but is not. So a crucial thing, of course, in leadership, and I think I said this before and remains, is that we as human beings can be empathic. Empathic, like feeling or imagining what the other person feels and respond to it, can create a bond. There is AI who can replace your friend, and this is something that makes me very sad. So you have algorithms who ask the right questions so that I might not feel alone or I have someone to talk to. My hope for humanity is that we keep human things to human. And there is, because we're not machines, that's very evident. And in the implementation of AI, as I said before, for every leader, it's very important to be empathic and to understand the team, to take away fear, to discuss openly, and to take it as a wonderful little Einstein that is in your hands that makes you faster, better. Yeah, but it doesn't, it does not, it cannot replace you. I'm not talking about jobs. That's another discussion, because human beings are different from machines. That's as
Yes.
simple as that.
Yes. So a story, please. A story, please, where emotional intelligence played a very significant role. For example, if I may, where actually a leader, with your help, with your coaching, actually showed empathy, showed emotional intelligence, and which actually contributed significantly to the success of the endeavor.
Yeah, I would like to share the story that you need to place the human potential and the machine potential at the right place. Today, I see with quite a few companies that the speed goes up and up, obviously, and this will continue as we're all using AI. Some companies do not adapt yet, and they try that the human beings work faster and faster, harder and harder, and they're exhausted, and they don't have the time to speak, and they're not there for their teams. So this is maybe a negative example where I advocate a lot, use the technology to have time to lead people. And on the other side, I also have this experience with a customer where indeed the whole team was completely stressed. Some were sick because the atmosphere was really not good anymore. And with the help there, it was not so much in decision making, but in efficiency and just organizing the administrational processes, that they figured out we can, after years of running and fighting, come back to working and being empathic and seeing the other and creating together and being human beings, still efficient. Yeah, it's not,
Yes.
we still have to be efficient at work, but we're human beings. And the human being is not fast. AI is, we are not. We have other qualities.
AI is fast. Human beings are not. Thank you very much for those words. Leon, we have only about 20 minutes more, so we need shorter answers.
Sure.
Sorry.
A minute earlier, Bärbel mentioned actually whether we are already using AI today in creating medications which are custom made for the patient. And I would like to follow up on this and say, in your experience, what are maybe the biggest or the most common misconceptions that people have about AI in healthcare, especially?
Yeah, in healthcare, like as a healthcare, I'm gonna focus mostly on, and this is a misconception that it's very sorry, it comes from very high up, that doctors are just going to disappear, right? And we have the clearest example, Geoffrey Hinton, uh, Nobel Prize. He said like in 2013, 2014, he said like by now there weren't going to be any more radiologists because AI was going to be capable of doing all the interpretation and diagnostics and everything. And I think now is when what Barbel was just mentioned and your question, like people want empathy. Like when you go to the doctor, you feel very, very vulnerable. Like to have a machine tell you if you have the flu, it's okay, it's a flu. But if you have something else, you need another human being. You need that kind of connection, right? So it's like I broke a bone. Yeah, you have to fix it. No, you need a doctor like to make you feel better. So I think one like on the largest misconception is this, that we don't how to have like human doctors anymore. Everything is going to be AI driven. And while it may sound efficient, it probably is not what we need or what we want.
Yes, yes, thank you very much for this. But how do you balance strategic planning with the need for flexibility in this crazy, rapidly changing business landscape?
Wonderful question. I try to make it short. It's
Yes,
very ambiguous. You need to do both. You need to have your lighthouse, an idea where you want to go,
yes,
and then you need to react on a daily basis on what's going on in the world. So have long-term strategic planning, but have very short revisions and adapt because we have new development every day. So you need to adapt on the way.
great, thank you very much. Leon, how do you see the role of large language models evolving in the healthcare sector over the next 5 years?
Well, the first thing I see is we're gonna have applications when you can log in and you can have like very first responses, like I have headache, I have flu, or perhaps you have these, and there are like these over-the-counter medications, right? But I think those are going to be very, very regulated to be sure that it's only like going to be minor things. And when it comes to larger things, for example, every time you go to a doctor in the US or Mexico, I'm not sure how it is in Europe, you have to fill like all of your forms, right? Like I've had this disease, and the US has been like this very huge effort to try and automate everything and have like these shared databases. And I think in the future, basically just gonna go, it's like I'm Leon Palafox, so hey, I have all this information about you. Is it correct? Do you want me to change something? Everything via chatbot kind of interface. It's like, okay, it's correct. No, this changed. Perfect. And all of that is going to go directly to the doctor, human doctor. And it's going to have like a small report to say like, okay, this patient, like only this thing changed. Perhaps he's overweight now and he's not drinking enough water. I don't know. So to make those interactions a lot less transactional, like, okay, what are your symptoms and everything, and a lot more personal. That's what
Yes,
I would like to see.
thank you, Leon. Verbal, I'm aware that you're working on a series of ebooks on leadership. Leadership is such a huge thing. It's so important, but actually, it's really a very big topic. For somebody who is young and starting, it might be a bit confusing. Like, where do I start? Where do I start? Just in a few words, tell all of our new young people who are watching us today where you would advise them to start with what topic, what trait of leadership.
Start with yourself. Start to understand who you are, what you're made of, how you're organized, what your values are, what your passion is, where you maybe need to grow and lead yourself. So that's a great start. Once this is done, you can move on and learn how to lead others.
I love this answer. I think this is better than Harvard Business Review and Gartner together. This is this is absolutely amazing. Thank you very much for sharing this. Leon, what ethical considerations do you think are most critical when developing AI solutions for healthcare?
Sure. Well, Barbara answered the question earlier, right? A lot of medicines were developed having males, like white males in mind, not only white males, like white average 30 to 50-year-old males, right?
Yes.
And that's because of resources, that's because of whatever politics, right? So a lot of the ethical considerations that we have to take into account is that, right? There's like this very famous case that X-ray machines originally were very bad for people of color, for Afro-Americans, right? Like were terrible because they were calibrated on white skin. And so, for example, when people came and they say, I have this pain, I broke my bone, the machine actually would show that the bone was not broken because it was not well calibrated. So there's like this very interesting case like 2-3 years ago where AI was used to recalibrate the results of the machines. So a lot of doctors that actually, they say, look, yes, I was mistaken actually. And a lot of these cases were like not until they operated, like they opened and saw the bone and they saw the actual fissure, that they realized that the machines were doing it wrong. So we need to have all of these ethical considerations about like the different people that we're developing care for, right? Because otherwise the care won't be inclusive, and worst of all, the care might not be sufficient, right?
Amazing. Thank you very much for sharing this. Bärbel, we recently had you actually on an episode, and I think you were in Paris, if I remember correctly. And we also recently had you in an event where you were in Munich, in Germany, right? How do you leverage your multilingual skills actually professionally? How does that help you?
Uh, First of all, you come along with English very well everywhere, of course, but especially for coaching and especially for personal work on your values, your core and belief sentences, and so on, it's a great thing to work in your mother tongue. And as a coach and consultant, at least, even if it's not your mother tongue, but to be able to communicate in this language and to chat with people, this is important. Less so maybe for strategic roadmaps and so on, but for coaching for these very personal things, it really helps.
So if you go to Mexico to coach Leon, you would speak Spanish.
No, I'm afraid not. This would be a new market. I would have to learn the language.
Okay, Leon, you have a specific background in exoplanet detection using neural networks. How do you think the skills from that field translate to healthcare applications?
So in the first part is the tech itself. So basically, GPT, all of these tech is basically neural networks with extra layers. It's a little bit more complex, but it's essentially the same. And so that basically lets you understand the tech. So for example, and this has helped me a lot. So when you're developing an application and you have someone that perhaps is not, they don't have so much of a working knowledge of how it works, and they say, okay, I might have this error, right? But because when I did my work in planetary sciences, I did everything from scratch. I programmed everything from zero. So now whenever I have, for example, a consultant that tries to implement their own solution, it's like, okay, you might have these and these and these issues, but I can identify them because I already did that kind of work, right? And the other part is like to try and understand, like I said at the beginning, like what do you want to solve using AI? Why do you want to solve?
Yes.
Why is AI needed, right? And exoplanet is because we have tons of exoplanets, like way too many for like all the astronomers on Earth to actually analyze them. And in terms of healthcare, it's the same thing. You have way too many patients. Like if you want to give personalized attention to each of them, you do need these kinds of systems, right? Like it's either that or like some people just don't get enough attention.
Yes, yes. Amazing. Thank you for sharing this. Bärbel, I heard Bill Gates speaking recently about the future and about trends for the future, and he said basically intelligence is something you would probably have for almost for free. What trends do you see shaping the future of business management and strategy in the next 5, 10 years?
There, we have to be honest, there's a huge change going on because people are, you asked me earlier for coaching, why is it important to have this
Yeah,
from a person?
yes,
Of course, there's many tools out and bots, and you can discuss with the bot and so on. I think in the moment we are sometimes too overexcited about technical solutions, or we too much say no, human being will stay. We're in a phases of sorting out things. My dream and hope is, like Leon just said, make the human being much better, faster, more intelligent. Um, so let's use it like a very good technical companion to become better,
yes,
but remain human beings. This would be my personal hope.
absolutely. Thank you very much for sharing this. Leon, I was once in London at an event where somebody came, an entrepreneur came presented, and he said, in my life, I have created 19 companies. 18 of those did okay. Some did very well, but one of them failed. And that one that failed has taught me more than the 18 that succeeded.
Mm.
Can you discuss a time when a project didn't go as planned and what did you learn from that experience?
Sure. This is some years ago, right? And it's probably one of my largest, like the most I've ever learned. So we did an AI model to try and bring customers to. I was working at a bank at the time to bring customers to the bank, and actually we were giving them an offer like on their mortgage. That we were offering like lower rates because they were such good clients, right? So we made a model in a very traditional sense. We send the offer to the clients, and when we saw the results, out of 100,000 clients, only 2 clients actually answered the call, like 2. So that's just pathetic accuracy reports. And I run the test and run everything. It's like I don't know why this is happening. And my manager at the time, like he's one of the best guys doing analytics in Mexico. He tells me, okay, but let's see the whole process, right? Like so the mail goes to the customer clicks the mail or like the message or whatever, and then what happens. And actually to be able to have that particular offer, they needed to go to the branch of the bank, like they need to go themselves to the branch. And a lot of customers, and not only to the branch, but they had to go to the original branch where they opened their account the first time. So you have a lot of customers where the branch didn't even exist anymore. They were living some other place in the country. They were too far. So I learned then that the whole offer is not only the AI model. It's just like I mentioned at the beginning. It's the whole process, right? It's from when you send the email to the client to when the client actually does the action. And actually that's what I learned from there. Like if you have very fancy AI applications, if you don't change the whole process of how things are managed, it's going to be very limited. But perhaps the effect is not going to be zero, but it's going to be way more limited than what it could be if you actually change the whole process.
Wow. Bärbel, can you discuss a time when you, similar to Leon, you had to navigate through some significant organizational change? And most importantly, what strategies did you employ to ensure smooth transition?
My experience shows that in transition, there's one thing that is most crucial, or maybe two things that are most crucial. You need to have this picture of the goal where you want to go, and then you need to communicate. Like if you're sailing and there's a lot of fog and nobody knows where to go, you need to discuss and explain and celebrate short. Um, how do you say, short steps that you manage to
Yeah,
do, and keep on track and exchange a lot with the team. If you, I think this is the most important. If you do not communicate, people are lost, people lose hope, people do not know where to go. Some will go back where we come from because anyways it was all better before. You need to have the light and then communicate people through.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Leon, how do you foster collaboration among diverse teams when working on complex AI projects in healthcare?
Yeah. So the first thing I try and do is, because AI is just like a part of the whole thing, and like the people with the expertise on AI is just like a part of the thing. But you also have the business side, right? Like the people who are experts on the business. So actually, the first thing I try to do is for mostly the technical people understand what business is all about. Like why, once again, what they are trying to change or what they are trying to do, like using AI. Once we manage to do that, what I try to do is actually have constant communication between the teams, have the business owner have a clear understanding of what we are trying to achieve using AI, and why do we even need AI? Maybe we don't need AI, and the business owner perhaps thought that we needed AI. So what I try to do is constant communication, but also having the tech team understand the business part of things, like not just being two separate entities and this one making a solution for the other one, right? More as a team, understand exactly where we want to get there and how do we want to get there.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Constant communication and having the tech team understand the business. Amazing. Bärbel, can you discuss a time? No, let's change the question. Can you discuss a piece of advice you would give to somebody who is aspiring to lead, and what would that be out of your own experience?
What would, sorry?
A piece of advice for somebody who is aspiring to lead, an
Yes.
aspiring leader. What would be your best advice to him or to her?
When you start your new role, of course, you first need to get a feeling for your team. So listen, don't come with the new rules and topics and be very, very top down in the beginning. So get a feeling for the situation, for the system, and learn from your people. And then you add this with your own vision. And through the whole path of leadership, listen to your people. It is not that you tell everybody how to do and where to go. Listen to your people and grow together. You don't need to be the best expert in everything. Usually your team is. You need to give the direction, and you need to, I think a good leader helps his or her team to be the very best. It's not so much about you, it's about your team.
Even better than himself or herself.
Definitely, definitely. I think strong leaders gather very, very strong people around them.
Leon, if you could implement one AI-driven solution in healthcare that currently doesn't exist, what would it be and why?
I don't know if it doesn't exist, but I haven't seen it anywhere. The one probably I love to implement, it's but this would be like government side, right? Like have a government create an AI chatbot, AI solution that of course has like real doctors behind it, but for people, and perhaps in Europe this is not much of an issue, but in Mexico and the US, if you don't have money, it's very hard to have access to healthcare, like quality healthcare, right? And I don't know if you know this statistic, but the largest number of patients that end up in an ER room, an emergency room, they're usually there for things that were totally preventable, like a flu or a cough, things that if they had gone to a doctor 2 weeks before, they wouldn't be in the ER room later, right? So perhaps having this chatbot, this solution, but should probably would have to be the government, and to have people flow resources to say like, okay, you have these booths, you go there, you say like, okay, you can put your symptoms, how do you feel? And in that particular moment, you get a receipt, and it's like, look, go to the pharmacy. This is free of charge, but get yourself these medicines. And that way, for example, in Mexico, we have a huge hospital system, like national hospital system, which is severely understaffed and severely underfunded. And it's like, okay, you're going to spend in resources like $10,000, which is around correct, on a single patient, or you're gonna give them away ibuprofen so they don't have that illness anymore, when the ibuprofen for the government is gonna be cents, right? So I think that will be a way to first take care of all these people that really are not being taken care of, which is the most important part. But next, to bring down the monetary burden of the government when it comes to healthcare, which I do think the government has to have a strong hand in healthcare, but I do think they can be more efficient about it.
Absolutely. Thank you very, very much. Bärbel, I have one more minute. Just in 1 minute, what's your last piece of advice?
Yesterday, I took the train and had a meeting with a colleague I worked together with for years and had never seen him in person. And then we discussed how many times we probably already have taken the same train on this trajectory. And then we thought, wouldn't it be great to have some AI tool that helps us connect with people? There's thousands of people in a train, and probably there's some you would like to meet, you would like to chat, or even and just share a cup of coffee.
Actually, this is a very smart idea. Maybe we at the Swiss Quality can work on this.
Amazing. I would be a user.
Yeah, me too.
Leon,
Connect the
Bärbel, thank you
world.
very much. I really, really appreciate it. It was really a great discussion. It was a lot of fun. Thank you very much. I'm sure that everybody has enjoyed this. And I would be happy, honored, and proud to have you guys again sometime in the future. Please look in your calendars if you can have maybe another 1 hour somewhere in April or in May. I would be more than honored and privileged to have you both again.
Thank you
Thank
for
you very much.
having me. It was
Thank you
great
very
seeing
much.
you, Leon.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Vielen
You
Dank,
too,
Bärbel.
Bärbel. Take care.
Muchas gracias, Leon. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very
Bye.
much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
I want to